Yeah, let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as the.
And welcome to this Tuesday edition of Pucks Across Borders, back on YouTube, Pucks Across Borders, and Total Apex Sports on X. So good to be back. I am jacked up. We have not done a show in a while. As always, brought to you by, this is Pucks Across Borders, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected cards. And with our promo code, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. That's up to 60% off selected cards. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for up to 60% off selected cards in the First Round Collectibles Sports. Also, Total Apex Sports. Once again, thank you guys for having us on board. I am Mark Sauter, my guy Andre. I feel like I always have to say this. We still love each other. Still my guy. Still dealing with his home issue, living in hotels and whatever. His house caught fire. If you guys did not know this, so he's still doing his thing, and he will be back with me at some point. But until then, my guy Jim back in action from Full Press NHL and many, many other things. You hear him on SiriusXM. You hear him all over the place. Jim, how we doing on a Tuesday, bro? Good to see you.
I mean, I'm doing great. I mean, it's Tuesday. You know, we got Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I saw Andy Strickland's post the other day. Shout out to him, just because you talked about like when games start to wind down, is it like Stanley Cup playoffs an addiction? I feel like it is every year, because come summertime you start twitching. You're like, yo, where's the rehab center at? Because you got to unwind, and we only got one game here on a Tuesday, but doing good. Also, shout out MLB doing something right. I know it's a hockey show, but shout out to the MLB finally reinstating Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. About damn time they did it. Both guys now eligible for Baseball Hall of Fame. So I just want to throw that nugget out there. That happened right before we came on.
I was going to say, I did not know that. That completely missed me. Yeah, dude, that is way overdue. I'm sure Pete Rose is somewhere, who knows where, and he's just like, finally, like, now you do this?
Like, come on, like, you're doing this now? Like, both guys way long overdue, because real quick, I know, again, hockey, but back to Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Black Sox scandal. If you look at his numbers, he never took money. He never threw the series. His numbers were the numbers all the time. He was one of the, and look, Pete Rose, yes, we know what he did as a manager. He, you know, it took him some time to admit that he did it. However, he's the all-time hit king. How do you not have the all-time hit king in Major League Baseball? Again, I could go on for hours about this. I'll do it on the nightcap recap with my buddy Teddy, but we're here to talk hockey, not baseball.
No, but you know what, though? Sports is sports. You and me both. We love everything to do with sports, hockey or not, and that's huge, huge news. So I have not done a show, and you were on the last show that I did. So we haven't done a show since round 2 started. So we got lots and lots to get to. Of course, Panthers, Leafs tied at 2s. Every other series besides Dallas and Winnipeg is at 3-1. And of course, Dallas is up on Winnipeg 2-1. So we got lots and lots to get to. But my guy, Jim, before we get to all of it, what is one big story round through? Basically, it should be halfway through round 2, although all these series are looking to be over by the weekend. But what's the biggest storyline through round 2 so far for you when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, 2005 edition?
So, you know, it's been the goaltending for me. Why? People are going to say, well, it's the goaltending every year. No. But if you look at it, the most steady goaltender in the league right now is in Carolina, and it's Freddie Anderson.
I know.
He's been a difference maker for the
Yeah.
Carolina Hurricanes. Rod Brindamore goes to him all the time. And he's given the Carolina Hurricanes confidence when they don't start games on time. He makes the big saves in the first period. You go back to game 3 against Washington. Washington come out after they took game 2. They played really well. And he was backstopped them. He gets a shutout. He played really well in game 4. He's played well in every game. You look around the league, right? You know, LA in the first round thought they solved their goaltending problems. With Darcy Kuemper, they didn't. But again, that was more of the Kings' byproduct of sitting back and letting the Oilers dictate play. You have the issues in Edmonton with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. Remember, Skinner started the playoffs. Then they went to Pickard. Pickard won 6 straight games. Then he got hurt in game 2. They go back to Skinner. The issue, you know, and again, everybody wants to point to Stuart Skinner. I thought he actually played a decent game in game 3. There was a couple goals maybe, but the last one's not on him. He got big and did everything he was supposed to on the Riley Smith deflection goal. And it's one of those weird things. Draisaitl will get your stick out of the way and it doesn't go in the net and you go to overtime. But I thought Skinner played well, and he played well in game 4. And then you go to the Leafs, right? Stolarz is the guy. Like all year for the Leafs, if Stolarz, Wall, Star, what are you going to do? But you gave Joseph Woll a 3-year contract in the summer. You signed Anthony Stolarz. You had a nice 1-2 combination. They fed off each other well. Unfortunate Stolarz gets hurt, but Wall's come in, and he's actually played pretty decently. I thought he had his best game of the series in game 4, and the Maple Leafs completely wasted it for him. He stood on his head, and he wasted a performance by Joseph Woll. And, you know, again, some of the goals he's given up, maybe some leaky ones, but I thought he's made some great saves. Even going in the overtime in game 3 where they lost because of Brad Marchand, I thought he played well. You know, again,
that goal, just to kind of jump in that game, the overtime game, the overtime.
The overtime game though.
Deflection up.
Yeah, but that's 2 goals off of Morgan Riley. That Wall just lost because it just went off of pants and butt, and it just. But I've thought he's played outside of game 1 where he had to come in relief. The games he's actually started, he's played well in.
I agree with you, and that's a tough spot too, right? Coming in, hold off the bench, that's hard.
Like no goalie. I mean, because you saw Florida got going after that, right? But again, it comes in cold. Is it really? I think that was just a tough situation. Again, we thought Colorado solved their goaltending problems with Mackenzie Blackwood. Though he didn't have a bad series, there were some games that he just didn't look good. Again, you go around the league, you know, goaltending to me in come playoff time is a huge factor. Again, we'll mention it later on. Connor Hellebuck against the Dallas Stars, the Jets road woes, you know, can they continue all that stuff? That Jake Ottinger, again, he's playing well for Dallas. Again, Bobrovsky, another guy, right? First round, really not tested too much. Leafs get to him. You thought, oh, maybe Florida looks tired. And then third period through overtime in a game 4, Bobrovsky looks like his old self again.
Yeah.
So he's starting to find his game. So I think to me, biggest storyline has been the goalie play in this series and how teams have how to switch goaltenders, right? Like, I think we've seen it in the past where, okay, well, they start with one, they go to another. Like the Capitals during their run to the Cup, right? They started with their backup goaltender, Grubauer, and then they went to Holtby after losing the first 2 games. So I think, you know, the goaltender plays such an important role that, you know, it sounds like I'm a card-carrying member of the goalie union. I'm not. I just have friends that are goalies, and I have friends in the business who were former goalies. So, you know, I have a soft spot for the goaltenders, but I think those guys, that play, and Logan Thompson's played well for Washington. I can't forget about him. Like, he came back from injury and he's played well for Washington. But the fact that Freddie Anderson has come back, you know, from injuries through the blood clots, through everything, he's giving Carolina a chance every night to win, and Carolina's a dangerous team.
So I was going to talk about this when we talked about Winnipeg, Dallas, but I'm going to pivot here because we're talking about goalies and you're talking about you have friends that are goalies or whatever. So I have friends that are goalies as well. Also just people like us who just consume, you know, hockey media for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all day long. I find that goaltenders, generally speaking, I'm not saying this is a cold hard fact, but I find, generally speaking, I really like to hear the game from a goaltender's perspective. It doesn't have to be about goaltending, just anything to do with it. I just find that goaltenders have a different perspective than your normal forwards turned radio guy or defenseman turned TV guy. I just find goaltenders have unique perspectives. However, and once again, as I always do, I'm going to preface this by saying I played hockey all my life, never made it to a to the OHL or never had a look at the NHL. Like, I'm just a guy who loves the game. So take this for what it's worth. Like, last night, I watched the game on my couch. I literally had chicken wings and ribs, stuffed my face with corn. Like, I'm just a guy eating food on his couch. However, when plays happen that are controversial, whether it's goaltender interference or kicking the puck in the net or anything to do with the goaltender, I find that goaltenders turned media personality always defend the goaltender's position. Always. And I'm going to take it back really quickly. We have a lot to get to with the other series, but really quickly. That play, Petrovic's goal, 3-2 goal, Dallas, Winnipeg on Sunday afternoon. I do not understand how that is not a goal. I do not. And I know it was called a goal on the ice. Took 8 minutes to figure out, okay, yes.
Over 9 minutes because they played Freebird in the building. And
No,
Freebird's a 9 minute and 10 second song.
I love that. Just like the Dallas, like whoever's in charge production staff just trolling the NHL so hard by playing one of the longest songs.
Exactly.
It's so funny. But to me, distinct kicking motion or not distinct kicking motion, that puck was heading towards the parking lot. And Hellebuck is the one who tried to clear it and hit it into his own net. So, and I know the playbook, or not the playbook, but the
rule book.
One thing and whatever, but like, I don't understand how that's not a goal. And every goaltender that I've heard talk about this, I'm sure there are some who have said it's fine that it's a goal, but every goaltender that I've heard is like, that's not a goal. Jim, help me understand. Because to me, once again, kicking or not kicking, that puck was headed towards the press box. And Hellebuck's the one who hit it into his own net. So what are we talking about here?
So here's the thing, right? So a couple things. Like, first of all, everybody went to I wrote an article on NHLrumors.com about this. Actually, yesterday it dropped about this. So one of the sections says everybody went to the rule book after the referee announced that he propelled it into his own net. Well, the word propel is not in the NHL rule book. Look at the NHL rule book. A kicked puck, if it deflects off a player's stick, can go in and count as a goal. The only stick it can't count is the goaltender's. And they said Connor Hellebuck made a play on the puck.
Yes.
He tried to make a save. I get it, right? But first of all, if it was a kicking motion, that's fine. He kicked it on net. Now, I'll give a shout out to one of the leagues I used to play in. Inline Skating Club, ISCA, down in New Jersey. We have a rule that says if the puck goes off your skate, no matter what, kicking or not, no goal. So I always hated the rule. I kind of understand why we have it now, because you can't determine kicking, non-kicking.
Yeah, there's no debate anymore.
No, there's no debate anymore. Oh, we got like a million things. Oh, did it go off this guy's? No. If it goes off your skate, no matter what, even if you're not trying to kick it, redirect it, you bank it off. Now, if you bank it off a defenseman's skate, it counts. But if you bank it off your own player's skate, it don't count.
Right.
Anyway, so get that out of the way. However, if you look at what the play is, I don't see where Connor Hellebuck actually makes a play on the puck. Now, I've always talked to referees about this, and Dave Jackson, and Ted Peel and guys like that I've had on my podcast. They've stated with any goal, the call on the ice is always the overriding call when they go to the situation room, unless there is a abundance of evidence to overturn it. There were a lot of rules in play, apparently, with this. However, the fact is that he said that he kicked the puck on net, and the goaltender tried to make a play on the puck and propelled it into his own net. I have issues with that because I think it was more of a deflection than it was a propelled into the net. Like making a play. Now, I don't really see where the clearing part is.
Word, by the way, surrounding this propelled is this new.
Well, the problem is they used a word that's not in the NHL rulebook.
Yeah,
that's the issue, right?
Yeah,
he propelled it into the net. Look, halfway to Sunday, the problem is the Winnipeg. Like we'll talk about it later too. The Winnipeg Jets are a fragile team because they let a goal happen 42 seconds later, and this shouldn't have affected them because they were playing a great road game. That's besides the point. However, what I have an issue with is that they counted this goal, and the standard was the Arturi Lehkonen goal in the first round against Dallas, where he went Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo style on that puck, even though he was falling down. That completely was a kicking motion and went straight in the net and didn't even hit anything. So I still don't understand how that one counted as a goal. And then again, you had the Andrew Shaw headbutt in for Chicago back in 2015, which was like in overtime. They didn't count that. A for effort there. But to me, I didn't think it should have counted. But again, I go back to what Dave Jackson's always told me, is if the call on the ice is a good goal, you better have an abundance of evidence to overturn it. And the situation room apparently didn't have. They were asking for a lot of angles, different things. And the on-ice officials believe that the goaltender, kicked it in. And everybody needs to realize that the situation room is there to assist the officials, not to make the final call. So the final call on the ice was goal, unless the situation room, and they talk about it and feed that information to the officials on those iPads, unless they have that evidence, the goal, they were going to count it. If they had said no goal, they needed evidence to say it was a goal. So that's where the call on the ice is. So I think that hopefully that explains a lot more to people, because I think we have to go say that the call on the ice is the call on the ice until there's evidence that says there isn't.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, like, I thought that this one was more of a good goal than the Lehkonen one that you were talking about, right? And so to me, and I know people are going to say, like, oh, you cover the Dallas Stars, blah, blah, blah. Listen, like, I love covering that team. I've had a lot of fun covering that team. I've really come to love the team, the players, the fan base.
Always love Dallas, man. Shout out to Craig Button, by the way, who built a great team. He was down there, director of scouting, when the Dallas Stars won the Stanley Cup in '99. They found so many good players during their heyday when they won. I mean, I've always loved the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm a Maple Leaf fan. I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. If you want to accuse me of fandom, that's fine. But for the Dallas Stars, man, I just cover the team and I watch the games every night. And I don't know. To me, that was a goal. But anyway, let's move on. So let's start with, since we're talking about goaltenders, talking about Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard and the craziness that has been that series. Let's move on to the Edmonton Oilers, up 3-1 on the Vegas Golden Knights. This series really fascinates me, and there's shades of, and we'll talk about this later, I'm just kind of laying it out there. I feel similar to the Oilers-ish as I do about the Carolina Hurricanes, in the sense that I never really believed in the Carolina Hurricanes. I still don't really believe in the Carolina Hurricanes. I thought they played a Devils team that was depleted. Now they're playing a Washington team that's just running out of steam. The Edmonton Oilers, when we talked about this the last time that we spoke, that if the Kings took care of their business, that was a sweep. And the Kings didn't take care of their business, gave the Oilers life, and now here we are. Watching this series so far, the Oilers, when they're on their game, they are just so fast. And like Vegas just looks 2 steps behind on every play. The goaltender's letting in some iffy goals. And it just looks like the Golden Knights are just no match. But I still am not convinced that this Oilers team is poised to enter. Now, if they play Winnipeg, which I don't think is going to happen, then they could beat but I don't know, man. Like I just people seem to be saying that the Oilers have now found the form that they had last year. And I just don't see it that way, simply because number one, they beat a Kings team that just puked all over themselves, and they're beating a Vegas team that is just so much slower than they are. Am I onto something, or do I need to get my eyes checked? And this Oilers team is the real deal through 4 games against the Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, by the way, Jim, I got to blow you up into the big screen. I got to fix my camera, but I'm still here. So you just keep on talking.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Edmonton Oilers are in the driver's seat right now. I think they're finding their game. Let's be honest here. I think that they found something in Game 3 against the LA Kings in round 1. I think LA should have definitely handled the business and didn't, and that's why they're sitting on the sideline. But they started to find their game in Game 1 against LA too. But they've carried it over. And yes, while Vegas is a slower team and their D is a lot slower, the Edmonton Oilers are on a mission to go back to the Stanley Cup final and finish the story and get the job done. The depth scoring that a lot of people thought, myself included, they didn't have, they have in spades, because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl aren't dominating these games like they did last year. Remember, it was a Connor and Leon and Zach Hyman and Bouchard show last year in the playoffs. This year, they have the depth scoring that we all thought, hey, what is, what's Jeff Jackson doing? What's Stan Bowman doing? Like, we're bringing in Jeff Skinner, Arvidsson. Like, what are we doing here? Well, they found something, right? Leon Draisaitl gets a big assignment. Evander Kane missed the whole year, and he's coming back against Vegas. How ironic is that? He's on LTIR, and he's the player that's making an impact, right? He had a goal and assist. Adam Henrique doing things in the playoffs like he always did, like he did for Jersey, like he did last year for the Edmonton Oilers. Connor Brown, right? The Edmonton Oilers have something here, and when they play with speed, they play north-south game, they play the way they can play. It's going to be tough for a lot of teams to beat them. Again, the biggest issue with the Edmonton Oilers is their goaltending. Calvin Pickard, Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner is going to play like he's playing. He can get them back to the Stanley Cup final. I think the Oilers have found something. I think they're finding their game and they're rounding into form. It's going to be tough for teams to beat this team if they're going to play like that in Game 4 against Vegas Golden Knights. Like I said before, it's not the Connor and Leon show this year. It's not.
It's huge. Yeah, you're right. You're right about
they have the depth scoring that, a lot of us thought, where are they going to get goal scoring from? Well, you have a healthy Evander Kane, and I tweeted this out last year. I think if Evander Kane was healthy in that series against the Florida Panthers, I think the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, dude, listen, man. I think 2 things. I think number 1, when they play the way that they're playing right now, and we saw it a bit, the negative side of it in Game 3.
Right.
But when they play the way they're playing now, their defense is not exposed.
Right.
And I think that is key, because I still don't like this defensive core. Offensive upside through the roof, starting with Bouchard, but I still don't like the defensive core. However, when they're playing the way they're playing now, it all fits into place, right?
Right, and don't forget they don't have Matthias Ekholm in there. So when he comes back, he comes back to the lineup, that defense is a lot better. Still weak because you have Bouchard and Nurse, but both guys are playing a little bit more defensively, and I think Chris Knobloch is understanding what he has back there, and Paul Coffey too. And look, I'm going to kind of tie this into the area I'm in. The New York Rangers had their next head coach, and they let him go to Edmonton.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, Chris Knobloch was in their system, and he's done a phenomenal job these last couple of playoff runs for the Edmonton Oilers.
He's done great. I also think, I mean, you talk about Evander Kane. I'm really impressed, and I know this is easy to say right now. Everyone's like, yeah, who isn't? But I mean, listen, Connor Brown.
Bro, yeah, that dude is on fire right now.
If you're like just a hardcore hockey fan, this guy playing with the Leafs and kind of jumping around a bit, going to the Oilers now. In both regular seasons that he's played with the Oilers, he has been invisible. Like nothing. All last year, all this year, but last playoffs and this playoffs, the guy has just turned into a playoff performer. And I'm so happy for him that he's found his place when the playoffs come. And I think that's really cool. Just from like a personal level, just this guy very, criticized quite a bit in the regular season, but when the playoffs come around, this guy has just stepped up his game to perform. On the other side, with Vegas, where are you at with this team? Because I picked them to go. Actually, that's a lie. Before the playoffs started, I picked the Kings to go to the conference final. But before this series, I picked Vegas to win this series, and they just look like all the skill in the world. Yes, like I already said, the goaltender hasn't played that great.
No,
they just look slow, man. And to me, that's
the only one.
And that's where, like, that's it for me. Is they just look slow. Edmonton's fast. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one that's noticed this. Shout out to Russ Cohen, who first is the one that told me about this, and he said it. Their D looks slow. Yeah, it's great that they're big and they're physical and all that, but their D looks slow. Like they really, and Aiden Hill's not the guy right now. That he doesn't look like the guy that won them the cup in 2023. And the D's not playing that way. They're just not as physical as they were back then. They won a game they probably had no business winning in game 3. And by the way, I'm gonna say this. I know what the NHL stats say, and I know what the history book's gonna say. The Oilers don't have 6 come from behind victories, despite what the NHL says. Like I like the NHL. Look, I know what they have. But when there's a game, especially the Kings game, when there's 4 goals scored in the first 6 minutes of a hockey game, that ain't a comeback. Comebacks happen from 10-minute mark on in the second period through the third period. That counts as a comeback to me, because anything can happen in the first period. You could have like 6 goals in the first period, and you could have goals scored in the first 5 minutes. That ain't a comeback. 1-0 in the first period, when in the first 30 seconds doesn't count, and then you tie the game a minute later. That's not a comeback, right? And similar, what we saw with Vegas. Vegas was down 3-1, so that's kind of different. But if you look at it, right, Vegas D very slow. Top guys just not performing. Like during their cup run, Stone was clicking. You see what the difference is not having Jonathan Marchessault still there. Like guys, they're missing something right now. I thought they, towards the end of the regular season, the way they were playing, I thought maybe they could go to a cup final again. I go back to when I saw the odds at the beginning of the in the off season with the Edmonton Oilers, and they always said Florida and Edmonton, and I'm like, it just doesn't. The way Edmonton put everything together, I'm like, there's no way they're getting back.
I agree. Yep.
Like there's no way, and I'm like, maybe they can now, because if they're gonna play with speed and everything, they're making the Vegas Golden Knights look like a very old team right now, and that's not the case. But that's what the Oilers can do.
100%. And we're going to move on. I'm not going to talk too much about the goaltending, just because, just to kind of put this out there, one of the reasons why I picked Vegas was I trusted their goaltending more. And I don't think I'm alone.
Look at that first 2 series. Yeah, but look at that first 2 series real quick. Final point on this.
Yeah.
In the Edmonton Kings series, Darcy Kemper was the better goalie, right?
Yeah.
In this series, entering this series, you had more faith in Aiden Hill than you did in Calvin Pickard, correct?
Yeah, 100%.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the whole Stuart Skinner conversation and Calvin Pickard and the whole deal. I mean, listen, I'm not going to get too into it. If you watch the show at all, like, my thoughts. They found a way to win with Skinner in the net last night or 2 nights ago, whatever it was, last night. And he got the shutout, and that's what they're going to have to figure out moving forward. Right. I think now what has happened now, which I think is huge, is if Calvin Pickard comes back and Stuart Skinner can rack up some wins, they now know that if they choose to stay with Skinner, they have a backup that they can trust. So that is huge. I'm really happy for Skinner that he found a way to get that shutout last night. I know he wasn't overly tested. I think only 23 shots, but shout out to him. And now they know they have 2 guys that they can go to if they need to. We're going to jump over to the East, come back and talk about the Jets and the Stars before we talk about tonight's game. Let's just get this out of the way. Carolina, Washington. I have to say, as somebody who covers the Jets and the Stars and somebody who is a Leaf fan, I watch a lot of the playoffs. Vegas and the Oilers are the late night games, so I can swing that. But somebody who has 2 young kids and a wife who he wants her to, like me still, I have to sacrifice some hockey. And Carolina's just been the team that I've chosen to be the sacrificial lamb. I have watched quite a bit of this series, not as much as the other series. Carolina just looks like they know how to beat this team. And to me, it's not overly complicated. They just know how to beat the Capitals. What's something you've taken away? And to compare it to what I said at the beginning, talking about the Oilers, just because they beat Washington doesn't mean that I think they can beat either Florida or Toronto. I don't know what this team has to do for me to believe in them, but they haven't done it yet. What do you see from the Carolina Hurricanes? Should we believe in this team? It feels like they just have Washington figured out. Like you said, though, and I'm just going to clarify, not clarify what you said, but to add to what you said at the beginning of the show. Freddie Anderson, 1.41 goals against average. The second place Stolars, 2.19. Third place, Logan Thompson, 2.45. So you have 1.41, and then it's not really that close. And then after number 2,
no. And what's his save percentage? It's like 9 something, right? Like 930.
Yeah, let me just go back and check that. Yeah, 0.935. Yeah, 935.
Yeah, so I was only off by a little bit. Yeah. Freddie Anderson is playing great for the Carolina Hurricanes, but the Carolina Hurricanes play this a relentless style, smothering style, like Vegas did in 2023, like the Panthers did last year, like the St. Louis Blues did in 2019, like Tampa did in their back-to-back cup runs, like the Kings did in their 2 cup runs. The model of the Canadians back in the 70s, the 80s with the Islanders, New Jersey mastered it with Lemaire and the Trap in the 90s. It is boring hockey, which I've been told, boring hockey, Devils, boring team, all this Trap, okay, whatever. Apparently every team wants to play it because it wins.
They win.
It's 3 Stanley Cup banners only on the other side of my wall that could prove it. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Look, I said this on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio. I've said this on Pucks and 7 and many other places. Devil fans and the fan bases and some of the writers don't agree with it, but I will continue to back my point because I'm not moving off of it. I don't care if the New Jersey Devils were healthy and had a healthy Jack Hughes and had a healthy lineup. They weren't beating the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina Hurricanes play this smothering style, and teams do not know how to adjust to it. They shoot from everywhere. They create turnovers. They have great special, and that's the difference again in this series. Washington can't score on a power play because the Carolina Hurricanes have this aggressive penalty kill that's the best in the league. They were 10th for goals for, 9 against goals against, 9th, just top 10 in everything, all the defensive, categories. They know how to play defense. They know how to go quick from defense to offense, puck possession team. One of my coaches said it best: if you have the puck, the other team doesn't, and that's what they do. Yes, it's sometimes this team it's hard to find goals for this team. But I'm going to be writing something up about Andrei Svechnikov, and I think the world needs to realize that maybe the Carolina Hurricanes have the player that they have been overlooking for years and trying to find someplace else and bring in, because I think Svechnikov's finally getting into his groove in the playoffs. 7 goals now. Their power play's kicking. Their penalty kill's great. They have good players. They play Rod Brindamore style that I don't think a lot of players can play, and they just mesh well together. This group's been together for a long time, and they're trying to prove something, that they can get past a conference final. Everybody's saying Washington embarrassing and all this stuff. That Washington is not playing the same way they did against Montreal, right? Are they running out of gas? Maybe. But again, how many people had Washington going to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year and had them finishing first in the Metro? I had them as a playoff team. I always believed that they were a playoff team because of the moves that they made. But I didn't think they were the first place team in the Metro division.
No way.
I didn't think that. So to see them kind of fall to a better Carolina Hurricanes team, I think the Carolina Hurricanes team probably was the best team in the Metro Division this year. Yeah, they didn't finish first, but I think consistently they've been the best team all year.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, I think Washington just had such a hot 2024 that, portion of this schedule that it just kind of, was what it was. I feel I'm with you. This series to me was one of the hardest ones to pick, even if I pick and I'm wrong.
And it's the most hardest one to watch if you don't want to watch it.
100%.
Like I said this, we joked about this, and I didn't make a lot of friends in New Jersey either. I may have lost some friends with this too. But when I was on Sirius with the boys on a hot stove, we're like, 8-8 Devils Carolina. I was like, yeah. Well, Washington Carolina is 4-4 in the second round, because it's just not, and it's really not entertaining hockey. But it's been a competitive series. The games have been good. You just have to get used to that style of play, because when you go from Dallas and Winnipeg and Edmonton and Vegas and Toronto and Florida to that series, it's just a drop off in the speed.
100%.
They just play a different way.
Yeah, 100%. And I just feel like even if I'm wrong with the Golden Knights and the Oilers, which it looks like I am going to be, it wasn't hard for me to pick. You know what I mean? To me, it was like, I believe in Vegas. But with this series, it was like, I'm leaning Washington. They got this Tom Wilson guy, and the Carolina Hurricanes don't really have that kind of guy, and playoff hockey and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't think it would be like this. It feels like this series will be over tomorrow. If Washington grabs one at home, then this certainly does not feel like a series that is going 7. All right, moving on to Toronto, Florida, tied 2-2. Toronto goes up 2-0. Go to Sunrise. Come back to Toronto tomorrow night. Series tied 2-2. As a Leaf fan, Leaf guy, very, very fascinating series. Lots of discussion, lots of topics surrounding it, lots of things to kind of get into. Before I kind of just share my thoughts, I will share what I think, both as somebody in the media, but also somebody who is a Leaf fan. I have no shame. I'll talk about it that way. What's your takeaway? What were your thoughts going into this series, and what were your thoughts now that we're here 4 games in? Because to me, I picked Florida in 6. I just felt that the way that the Panthers play, it's just going to be too much. I picked the Leafs to go to the Cup final at the beginning of the playoffs, not because I'm a Leaf fan, but because I really thought that Tampa was going to beat Florida. And I also felt that the Leafs were a really good matchup against Tampa. I thought the way that the Leafs matched up against the Lightning, that the Leafs could win that series. So if the Leafs beat Ottawa, Tampa beats Florida, I think Toronto can beat Tampa, and onward we go. But it didn't work out that way, and I just felt that the way the Panthers played, that the Leafs just were no match. However, through these 4 games, now the Panthers still might win in 6, maybe they'll win in 7, maybe the Leafs will win. I got to give the Leafs full marks, man. They have not just bent over. They have been in this series every step of the way. What were your thoughts going into the series, and where are you now that it's 4-4 going back to Scotiabank tomorrow night?
Yeah, not surprised it's 2-2 headed back to game 5, headed back to Toronto, right? I kind of think that's where it was. I didn't think the Leafs would go up 2-0 and have a chance to be up 3-0, and then Florida had to come back, but the whole team has won all 4 games. But the Leafs, let's give them credit, right? Like, they've stuck with the Florida Panthers in every game, maybe not game 4 so much, but again, they were only down 1-0 until the 2-0 goal, and Bobrovsky had to come up with some big saves. And don't forget, game 3, Nyes, Nylander, Matthews, Marner had breakaways, had chances in overtime to win the game and make it a 3-0 series. The way the Leafs won games at home was very good. I mean, they really impressed me, because I thought the way Florida finished game 1, I thought that was going to carry over into game 2, and it did. But the Leafs had an answer for every Florida goal, and they were able to win. And the Florida Panthers players, especially Brad Marchand, who has been a Leaf killer, even admitted that it was a different team, and they kind of underestimated the Leafs, right? From 2 years ago. That's Craig Berube for you. But he needs to start calling out some of his best players. And the calm demeanor is good at a certain point when you're up 3-0 in a series and you lose 2 games. Now you got to start pushing, because, Marner kind of quiet. I think the Matthew Nyes, John Tavares, and Max Pacioretty have been, and the depth guys have been their best players in this series. Nylander always around it, right? But Matthew Nyes, to me, has just been impressive. This kid's he's gonna earn himself a contract. And again, kind of compare it here, right? Like, we know the Leafs tried to trade for Mikko Rantanen because we know what he could do in the playoffs, and we'll get into more of that later. Because they knew, what's Marner going to do? I think Nyes could be that guy for them going down the road, right? I think that's the guy that you got to keep your eye on, because I think that's the playoff performer that you have. I mean, they have Nylander, so Nylander loves the playoffs too. Like, he don't care. But they're starting to talk differently. If you read the quotes that come out, like, they're starting to get involved in that stuff. That, when that series changed, when Florida went on that run in 2023, I noticed it. Matthew Tkachuk started getting into Boston's head at the end of game 4, and that kind of flipped the tide. Now we could talk about the breakaway and all that stuff with Marchand at that point, and then that discussion doesn't happen. However, the Leafs played a horrible game 4 in front of Joseph Woll, who played outstanding, and I said it before, they wasted a performance from Joe Woll. I thought he had a great game. They need to figure out something on a power play. Matthews is clearly injured. I mean, I have no intel, and no one said anything, but he hasn't been right all year because his shot isn't the same as it was last year. So to me, as a player, looking at it, coming from that angle, with no intel, the way he's shooting and missing, and the way he's so hesitant in his normal areas to shoot the puck, even at 4 Nations in the final, shots that would normally go in weren't going in. They were just falling short on Binnington. To me, it feels like that injury that's nagged him all year is still nagging him, and he's playing through it. But here's the issue, and this was the issue with Rick Nash in New York. He got paid to score and produce in the playoffs, not be a good defensive hockey player and win faceoffs and do all that other stuff, which is all well and good. But you're not getting paid Matt Cullen money to do what a role of a 3rd and 4th line center is supposed to be doing. You're getting paid like Mikko Rantanen and more than that to produce in the playoffs. And he just isn't doing it.
I think the only pushback that I have on that, and I'm not pushing back the facts at all because I think you're 100% right. And I'm not actually really pushing back. The way that I look at it is Matthew Nyes, as you said, has a real opportunity here because, in my opinion, and I don't even think this is much of an opinion, I think it's pretty well fact. The top line for the Florida Panthers is the best defensive top line left in the playoffs.
But they had a bet. But here's my issue. You bring up the best top line. They moved away from Barkov
last
and Reinhart. Game. No, both games in Florida, it was Lundell, Marchand, and Lucia Ryan matching up against Matthews.
And those guys are just
as good, but it's a favorable matchup for Matthews, Nyes, and Marner.
Yeah.
Like
my point is the best goal scorers for the Panthers are kind of being canceled out too. So that's where I'm less worried about it. It's not that you're wrong. Matthews needs to figure this out and he needs to break out. I just look at it where, okay, if both teams' top guys are a wash, then these other guys have to kind of get going too. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion, but I don't disagree with you.
No, I mean, look, I go back to the days of, again, it was a different game because it wasn't the clutching and grabbing, and this isn't the clutching and grabbing area, but I remember the Stanley Cup final when the Devils went up against the Dallas Stars. John Madden was always out against Mike Modano and everything. And sometimes Sikora and Arnott were out there too, but they found a way to produce.
You're right.
Like, guys, your top players have to find a way to produce.
And
they have to.
Yeah, and to kind of hit more on your point, because I do think obviously he's injured or whatever. He's playing Matthews we're talking about. He's playing
he's playing well, but he needs to score goals.
Yeah,
it's time. Game 5 is a must-win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't care. It may go 7. I still think it does. But Game 5 is a must-win for Toronto because if they don't win, I think Florida closes the series out.
I agree with you 1,000%. The thing that's actually, and I haven't heard this talked about that much, the thing that actually worries me more than Matthew, and just to reiterate, I do 100% agree. Yeah. Matthews needs to score. However, the one thing that concerns me more than him not scoring was the body language all over Mitch Marner in Game 4.
Yeah,
because we're on Mitch Marner. Like this market loves to pick on this guy,
Marner. Yeah,
and rightfully so. This playoffs, generally speaking, I thought he's played very, very well.
100%. I thought he's played well. I thought he took that Four Nations stuff and he's carried it over.
It up,
except in this series.
I just think that Game 4 body language, like when he took that penalty towards the end of the third period, and you see him in the bench with his head down, I was like, dude, that is the body language that Toronto Maple Leaf fan nightmares are made of, bro.
So you bring that up. Sorry, I the host in me always likes to come out.
It's all good.
So here's the thing. I go back. You remember this? I think you'll remember this. I believe it was 2013. Jonathan Taves, Detroit, Chicago. Chicago's down, I think 3-1 in the series. I think it was a second round series before Detroit made the jump over to the Eastern Conference. Down 3-1 in the series, Jonathan Taves. This was Game 4 that Detroit's going to win, right? Whatever game it was. Brent Seabrook, Taves takes 2 bad penalties. He's frustrated in the penalty box. He's the captain of the team, right? Things are going awry. Brent Seabrook goes over to him before they close the penalty box door and taps him on the head and talks to him, tells him to calm down, everything's going to be fine, gets him in a body. When they take bad penalties or bad body language, somebody has to calm these guys down and just say, hey, let's just stay even keel no matter what's going on. Let's get back to the mindset we had in games 1 and 2 and 3. When Florida scores or something's not going our way, let's find a way to just figure it out. Because in game 4, they played their worst game since that Ottawa game in game 5. Like everybody was a passenger.
Yeah, and so to talk about that for 2 seconds, and then we'll move on to Winnipeg, Dallas. So what I was impressed with through the first 2 games, and where I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be more of a series than I actually thought, was similar to the Oilers versus Vegas. It was clear that the Leafs' speed was just superior. Like, you watch those first 2 games, their speed versus Florida's, they're just faster. And that really carried them through the first 2 games. If Toronto loses this series, to me, yeah, game 4, you're right. It was disappointing. It was a bad game. A bunch of passengers, like you said. Joseph Woll was out of his mind, and they just couldn't score. Not even they couldn't score. They had some good scoring chances, but nothing too crazy. To me, it's game 3, Jim. Like, game 3, you're up 2-0 early in the first. They score 1. Now you're up 3-1 at one point. You let that game slip away. Yes, Florida was up 4-3. You tie it up. You lose in the end of the 4th period. But that game 3, that was their game. That was their game. And so, listen, the fact that they lost game 4 the way that they did obviously is concerning. But that's just the way, like, listen, man, Dallas in game 4 against Colorado, awful. Dallas in game 2 against Winnipeg, awful. These things happen. That game 3, they had that game. 2 separate 2-goal leads, and they let them both slip away. To me,
inexcusable. Can't happen.
So if they lose this series, man, it's game 3 for me. That's where I look at it and shake my head.
And again, fluky goal on a 3-2 goal. They look at the review, right? It just goes over, and then they score. Like, it's tough luck. But again, like, you got to respond now. When you have a bad game, go respond, right?
Yeah.
All the best teams figure out a way to respond after having a bad game. It happens.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked all year. You and I have talked about it over the last month or so that we've been doing shows. This Leafs team's different. This Leafs team's different. I've talked about different signs that I've seen. This Leafs team's different. They beat Buffalo 4-0 to clinch the division. They lose that game different years. This team's different. Signs in Ottawa. This team's different. The fact that they won the first 2 games against Florida, this team's different. The fact that they actually tied game 3 and went to overtime, this team's different. Well, guess what now, boys? It's a brand new series. Game 5 in your barn. Games 7 in your barn. 2 out of 3 games left in your barn. Okay, this team's different. Now it's time to prove it. And I still believe whoever wins this series goes to the Cup final, but that's a conversation for another day. All right, Dallas and Winnipeg. You and I have known since the incredible weekend of Game 7s where Dallas down 2-0 in the 3rd period. Rantanen carries on from his Game 5, Game 6, Game 7, just taking over the back half of that series and taking over Game 7 in the 3rd period. Next night, Winnipeg, they're losing by 2 with 2.5 minutes left, tie the game up, win in double overtime. So you and I haven't talked since all of that crazy shenanigans took place. So heading into round 2 between Dallas and Winnipeg, where did you stand? Who did you think was going to win? And what are your thoughts now that we are 2-1 with Dallas having the opportunity to put the Jets on the brink? With regards to the game tonight, we'll get into the game tonight. First, where are you at with this series, and where were you at after that ridiculous weekend? I got a million thoughts too, but I want to hear what you got to think.
Entering the series, I had Dallas winning
Mhm.
because I had more faith in the Dallas Stars, and I know people in Winnipeg. I have friends in Winnipeg. Again,
Me too.
I'm upsetting everybody. That's okay. It's fine. I had Dallas winning the series because I had more belief in them that they could win on the road, and they did. Mikko Rantanen, again, beast, right? Guys factored in 15 of the last 17 Dallas Stars goals, goes back-to-back hat tricks. At one point, he factored in on 13 straight goals. He's up to 18 points, 9 goals, 9 assists. You know, he had the incredible the 2-game stretch where he goes back-to-back 4-point periods, back-to-back hat tricks. He has another 3-point night in game 3. He's just been on a tear. Again, he is the definition of a playoff performer.
Oof.
He's been doing it since his days in Colorado.
His whole career.
Whole career. Look,
Yeah.
you go back to his stats in Colorado in the playoffs, he was either 1 or 2 in scoring during the playoff years. And he was second in scoring behind Cale Makar the year the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. He had 25 points. Makar had 29. He's been doing it. So there's a reason why Toronto Maple Leafs tried to get Mikko Rantanen, right?
Yes.
From Carolina at the time. There's a reason why Carolina thought they could keep him, but he was never going there. Colorado just didn't want to pay him. And I respect Joe Sakic in the fact that he's doubling and tripling down on it, that they just didn't, because they knew what was going to happen. They didn't want to be in that situation. But you kind of look at it and you say to yourself, man, I don't know. Like, you could have figured out a way to get this done and make it work. I respect it. I respect what Sakic, man. I respect it because he said, yeah, it didn't make fiscal sense for us. To me, you figure out a way to get that player. You keep that player. You had a core of 3 dudes, right? Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar. That was the triple M's, man. Or it's double M&M's and Rantanen, right? Yeah, those 3 guys. You could have done something. They didn't. Mikko Rantanen's on a mission to prove that he can do it without Nathan McKinnon. Because all you heard, a product of McKinnon. Bro, did not everybody watch Colorado Avalanche games when McKinnon was hurt or out of the lineup? Like, he's a monster. Like, this dude was a monster. And at one point this season, he was playing better than McKinnon was.
Yes.
Like, Rantanen was a beast. So he's on a mission to prove it himself. And he's going Ricky Vaughn Major League right now. Like, he's completely going Ricky Vaughn. Like, I mean, I know it was a prank and he stayed on the Indians, but he's going full Ricky Vaughn straight in Lou Brown's office right now. It's great. But that's the type of player that you need in the playoffs. And I thought I had more confidence in Dallas winning on a road than I did Winnipeg, because Winnipeg's road woes, they've lost 8 straight games on the road.
Dude.
They're Connor Hellebuyck's awful on the road. The team's awful in front of them. I thought they actually played a really good game 3 up until that controversial goal. And then the rails just completely went off. Like, the train went off the rails for that team. Because I actually thought they played a really good roll game up until that point. Because they answered every goal Dallas had. They were keeping the game simple. But Dallas, I just have more faith in them, more depth. Their defense was playing better. Up and down their lineup, they just had guys that could do it. And now they're getting Heiskanen back. Like, it's like, Dallas up 2-1, not surprised whatsoever. Because I think Ottinger could get to that point where I've seen he's playing like he did against Calgary that one year.
Well, and like, I just feel like, I got something to say with the whole Rantanen thing too. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm right there with you. Just to touch on what you're saying about the whole Colorado part of it, you gotta love it just from a poetry perspective, right? Like, forget all the analytics, forget all the X's and O's and the this and the that. Just Rantanen taking over the back half of game 7, that third period, just from a pure poetry standpoint, just a beautiful, beautiful thing. It started in game 5, carried over into the second period of game 6, and then in game 7, when his time was right, it just completely broke. And I talked about this on the second round preview for the Hockey Writers podcast, where I wrote a piece about this after game 7, talking about how that game 7 to me was the Dallas Stars in a nutshell, where they just wait, they stick to their game, and when the time is right, boom, they take off. And we saw that again in game 3 on Sunday. Now, the only difference with that was in the game 7 against Colorado, I don't think Colorado necessarily caved in. I just think like Rantanen and the Dallas Stars woke up.
Well, I mean, they were down 2-0 and their playoff lives are on the line. Like,
right.
They had that push.
100%. But in game 3 against Winnipeg the other day, that Petrovic goal broke the Jets.
100% did. But you've been saying this. You've been saying this every time we've been on the show together. The Winnipeg Jets are mentally fragile. One little thing, and then everything goes off the rails.
Yes, 100%, man. And that's why, as we segue-ish into tonight, that is why I picked Stars in 6. My gut was telling me 5, but I didn't want to get too carried away. I said 6. What this team, this Jets team, this whole Hellebuck on the road, the team on the road, this is not a trend anymore. We are halfway through round 2. We saw this last year too, man. This is 8 straight road losses for the Jets in the last 2 seasons, right? Yeah. This isn't just like this year thing. That's why the whole Hellebuck conversation, this isn't just first round Hellebuck. This is what we have been seeing for this team in the playoffs over however many years, and it's what we're seeing right now. In order for the Jets to survive, they have to win 2 straight games on the road. They have to win tonight. Let's say the Jets find a win to like a way to win game 5 at home. Okay, let's say, right? Jets lose tonight. Then they win game 5. Great. They still have to win in Dallas in game 6. There's no way that this Jets team wins 2 games on the road. There just isn't. And
they got to get back to playing Winnipeg Jets style. You got to keep the game simple. Let the game come to you. I always say this, right? As a player, I love the way coaches say this. Cliche. Let the game come to you. Don't do too much. If the game is 0-0, who cares? Like, who gives a crap if the game is 0-0? Doesn't matter, right? Yeah, you want to produce offense. Yeah. You want to get everything like that, right? Who cares? Play your style of game. Be heavy on pucks. Be heavy. Put the Dallas Stars defensemen into the boards. Figure out a way to finish your checks. Cause turnaround. Be the team you were in the regular season. And I go back to that game against Vegas in Vegas. I believe it was in Vegas when Eric Comrie started. That kind of showed everybody, hey, we are that team. Go play a simple game on the road. Just go play a simple game. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be, high offense, all this stuff. Go play a simple game on the road. Yeah. And the thing is with Connor Hellebuck is you can't be behind the 8 ball. You can't give up the first goal on the first shot again. Like, that can't happen. Like, the best goal in the world cannot be doing that. Again, look, would I have been in favor of Eric Comrie starting game 4? That would have been a bold move by Scott Arniel. I mean, I told you in the last series, I might have played him in game 6, knowing game 7 is at home. The more people ask me this, and there's a part of me that says, man, maybe. But then you want the goalie to work through the problems on the road. You just don't. But Pittsburgh went to Thomas Volkun and got to a conference final in 2013. Fleury was not at his best, and they decided, hey, we got to go with somebody else, right? To me, Winnipeg just got to play a simple game. The issue is Dallas is such a good team under Pete DeBoer. They play a good style. Rupe Hintz is there. Granlund, like, they're getting everybody back. The Dallas Stars are in the position I thought they would be in, and Winnipeg has to win game 4. I'll say this again. I quote tweeted somebody today, and I've been saying this. The way Carolina came out and won game 4, the way Edmonton came out and won game 4, the way Florida came out and won game 4, everybody says, well, Dallas needs to do that. Winnipeg's the team that needs to do that. Go reestablish yourself as the best team that was in the regular season.
And you know, I got something else to add, but to your goaltending point, Jim, I heard this on the radio today. I can't remember who said it. Otherwise, I would fully give them credit. Throwing out the idea of starting Comrie tonight. And it's what you just said, Jim, talking about, yeah, but like you were playing devil's advocate saying, well, they want the goaltender to work through the problems. Guess what, man? If you lose tonight, the series is over. There's no more working through problems. Right. So exactly. Tonight, they're not going to. We know they're not going to. But if you don't win tonight,
why not?
Man. I know.
It is. And first, I need to go back to another point I made about Rantanen. I want to know where Pete DeBoer's saying he's just getting warmed up, bro, and just getting started. Like, I'd like to know what he looks like when he's on a real team.
Oh, yeah, because this is historic, man. Like, we're talking, in this certain stretch, we're talking numbers comparable to, like, only Wayne Gretzky. Like, this is not... But
I'd like to know what he looks like when he's fully running.
Know.
Like, and he's fully at that level. Because he's just getting started. Like, bro, really?
And so, to your point... and also, side note, just letting everybody know, we are going to get to the game 4 picks for tonight and wrap up the show. Thank you to everybody who is watching, whether it's on YouTube, Pucks Across Borders, or Total Apex Sports on Twitter. Like, subscribe, follow to both sites. Both of us greatly appreciate it. Just another point real quickly, Jim. I wrote about this today, actually, and before we get to tonight's game, I want to know your thoughts on this. As incredible as Rantanen has been, and obviously this is incredible, it's historic, it's all anybody's talking about when it comes to this series. We all know hat-trick in game 7, hat-trick in game 1, since game 5, 17 points, 9 goals, all this stuff. It is insane. However, there's one thing that scares me with this. And specifically, the point of my column today was what the Stars had in game 3, that's what they need more of. Is Rantanen did score.
100%.
He did score. He did get 3 points, but you had 4 other guys scoring. There was a point.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. 100%.
There was a point where I think it was from game 6 to the end of game 2, which they were shut out in game 2, so it is what it is, where there were only 3 other Dallas Stars players who scored in those 4 games, right? So they amazing as
it was like Rupe Hintz, Hintz, Granlund, and like somebody else. It was
as amazing as Rantanen has been, what we saw in game 3, that's what you want your game to be. And if you're in a position where you need Rantanen to go off on a hat trick, then you have that in your back pocket. But when the Dallas Stars are at their best, what we saw in game 5 against Colorado, winning 6-2, when Wyatt Johnston scores 2 goals, Rope Hintz throws one in there, Mason Marchment gets on the board. And what we saw in game 3 on Sunday, that is Dallas Stars hockey. I'll also say what they did in the back half of game 3 and what Mikko Rantanen did, but what as far as game 7 goes, we've seen that from the Dallas Stars all year long. This team is never, ever out of it. I love Mikko Rantanen. I love the story. But as a guy who covers this team every day, they need game 5 and game 3 Dallas Stars. They can't just depend on Rantanen.
One guy's not going to win you a cup. But I agree. Like but the thing is, what Rantanen is, when he's going, you could put him out with Sam Steele and guys like that,
amazing.
and then on off, and they're gonna, which you put them out with fourth line guys, they're gonna just do whatever. But Robertson's gonna start getting it going. Wyatt Johnson start. If you're gonna get a fluky goal from
I'm
Petrovic,
still waiting for Matt Shane, man. I'm still waiting for Matt.
Yeah, where's Matt Duchene been? Like this dude, like I have no idea where this guy's been. Maybe he could start.
Can't put the puck in the net.
No,
but no.
But Ben's got to get going again. Sagan's coming back from injury. But I think everything's gonna flow if Miro Heiskanen can start getting that game. Like I know it's first game, so they're gonna go 11-7 tonight in game 4. But if this team plays well and he's showing signs, like that's another piece because he can control so much from back there. Yeah. Like when they get their depth scoring going, forget about it. This team's gonna be the finish line has been great. Don't get me wrong, but they need Robertson. They need Johnston. They need guys like that. They need everybody. Going.
And I think to your point, if they didn't have Mikko Rantanen and they're in this exact same position, right? Heiskanen's out, comes back, and like you said, they're rolling 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. If this is the exact same situation, but they don't have Mikko Rantanen, then it's like, But guess what, man? They've been double shifting Rantanen with that fourth line for the last couple nights. So now we can roll 11-7. And the beautiful thing, dude, is they're double shifting Rantanen, and he's still only playing like 19 minutes. It's not like the guy's playing 25, 26 minutes like his former counterpart, like McKinnon. Like he's still playing less than 20 minutes, yet he's being double shifted. So beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. Wrapping up the show tonight, the only game in the NHL, game 4, Dallas hosting the Winnipeg Jets. Let's quickly dive into what the odds look like. Once again, thank you to everybody joining us. We appreciate it greatly. The Winnipeg Jets, this was typed in like an hour ago, so I want to make sure that we're on this same page. Okay, so some Winnipeg money coming in. It was plus 130. It's now plus 128 for Winnipeg. All of this according to FanDuel. Minus 154 for Dallas. Minus 1.5 for the Stars is plus 164. Plus 1.5 for the Jets is minus 205. The over 5.5 is minus 110. And the under is the same. Jim, what do you got? What are you looking at when it comes to Dallas hosting the Winnipeg Jets on this Tuesday evening, the only game in the NHL?
Yeah, I got Dallas at home in this. I think they're going up 3-1. Just not convinced the Jets can get it done on the road. I just hate to be a Debbie Downer like that, but I think the Dallas Stars play well at home. Good coach team. I think they're going to get the push of Miro Heiskanen being back. Just a better team. I think the Jets road woes go to 9. I think you could go. Look, it's pretty much close to pretty much the same with the overs, but the way Connor Hellebuyck's been playing on the road, he's averaged giving up 5 goals a game recently. So I would take the over in this game. Gonna be honest.
Yeah, my favorite bet in this game, which if you want to take the over, Jim, this is my personal opinion, and it's a little bit riskier, of course. Dallas Stars over 3.5 total team goals. Dallas Stars over 3.5 is plus 136. So to me, I like the Dallas Stars puck line, but if you wanted to water down the puck line and just take the money line minus 154 and take Dallas over 3.5 goals plus 136, that's not a huge thing. It's only plus 138, which doesn't seem right, but that's what it is. So it's not really worth it now that I say it out loud. But I really do like Dallas over 3.5 goals as a team. One thing that I really do like as well, 2+ points. Listen, man, we've seen what Mikko Rantanen's been doing. He's been getting 3+ points every time Dallas wins. For him to get 2+ points, 2 is plus 182. So to me,
man, lock it in, man. I do.
Right. Also, Wyatt Johnston, 2+ points, which he got in game 3, and he's gotten multiple times in the last couple weeks. Wyatt Johnston to get 2+ points is plus 450. So those are a couple of the props that I am looking at. What do you want to throw in here for a little 3-leg parlay as we roll into a Tuesday night?
Yeah, maybe we get a anytime point from Miro Heiskanen. Do we have anytime points on the line? Because like I feel like an anytime point for Heiskanen. I feel like he's gonna get one tonight.
Heiskanen is not on my board.
Oh, but you know what? It doesn't matter to me. I'm taking. I think if you could find a parlay where you can get Heiskanen, I'm taking that baby all day because I just think he's just a good player, to be honest. Like I really do.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Look, I like everything you said. I'm not sure I go 2+ points on Wyatt Johnston tonight, just because it seems like he goes every other game. Man, I feel like even though if the Jets lose, I feel like Kyle Connor's going to get on the board tonight.
Okay, goal.
Yeah, goal, anytime goal. I think goal for Kyle Connor tonight. He's due.
All right, so let's do this. I like for a Pucks Across Borders same game parlay. Let's do Dallas Stars over 3.5 total goals. I like that way better than the value for the money line. Mikko Rantanen 2+ points. I think that's really good value considering like 2+ points in my opinion should be way less than plus 182. And Kyle Connor anytime goal, that is plus 781. And if you want to be super aggressive and jacked up like I am, I think the Stars win this by multiple goals. And if you pick Dallas on the puck line on top of that, it is plus 1341. So that's where I stand. I love it. I'm going to lock it in. Jim, before we wrap up the show, where can everybody find your work? What do you got coming down the pipeline in the old
keyboards? Yeah. So check it out.
I was going to make a joke and it went right over my head. But what do you got coming up, man? Where can people find your work?
All right. Obviously, you get me Twitter, X, Bird, whatever you want to call it, at Jim Berenger on Twitter. Always fun there. Full Press Hockey on YouTube. Please subscribe. Got my Mikko Rantanen video up. Thank you to everybody who's watched and liked and commented on it. One of my best videos I've done. I put out there yesterday morning, and the views are unbelievable on it. And
love it.
It continues to climb. I have a Full Press Media Substack. Go find it. I put some great articles out recently there. Full Press Hockey, obviously. NHLrumors.com and the Devil's Nation, where I help out some work there, as well as do some stuff for Seattle Kraken and Vegas over there as well. For those guys, find me, on your dial. Do we have dials anymore? Or on your screen, really? You can find me on your screen and your dial. Find me there. Also check out my new Blue Line Blast podcast with Matthew Blittner. Him and I do just talk hockey. Great guest coming up as well. So go check that out as well up on YouTube, Blue Line Blast Podcast. Go find it there. NHL Rumors are also on YouTube as well. I dropped some videos in there as well. New ones dropping there. New articles dropping. Talking about Vander Kane. We're talking about Svechnikov. We got some insights coming for you. So stay tuned.
Love it, man. Yeah, I listen to Sirius every single day, only on my phone. I've never listened to it in the car. I mean, I listen to it in the car, but only through my phone.
Like I said, do you have it? Like, are people on the dial anymore? I don't know. I feel like it's like a saying. I love it. I'm on your radio dial. So, and I'm on your TV too. So if you get Game Plus Network, Rob Peterson Show, check that out. We're everywhere. Like I'm everywhere. Like as Kirk Signetti said in college football, Google me.
Well, when I booked you on my show the first time, you and I have known each other for a while. But when I booked you on my show the first time, that same morning, I was listening to Sirius Radio, and I was like, yo, this guy. But no, but you know what? Going back to the dial thing real quickly, my phone was broken for 3 straight days, and I'm in the car. I had no choice but to go to the dial. So it's the
dial, baby. That's it.
So everybody, really quickly, Miko Rantanen, 2+ points. Kyle Connor, anytime goal. Dallas Stars over 3.5 goals. Throw in the Dallas Stars puck line if you want to be risky. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Jim, once again, thank you for joining me. Shout out to First Round Collectibles right now. Promo code Sports Addict, 10% off any card in the store, up to 60% off selected cards. Promo code Sports Addict, FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Also, shout out Total Apex Sports. Thank you guys for having us on. We appreciate you as well. Everybody, good luck on your bets. Enjoy the games, and we will see you next time.